Kevin and Alicia Stump's dream of farming took root in Montgomery, Texas. But it wasn't until they planted their future in Hendersonville, North Carolina in August 2022 that their hydroponic farm truly blossomed. Spectrum News 1 took this video just 2 days before Helene uprooted everything they built. $150,000 gone overnight.
It was really traumatic. It's everything that we've ever worked for our whole life, we've invested into this farm.
With no immediate assistance for hydroponic farmers, the Stumps felt alone.
Traditionally, USDA and FSA doesn't recognize that for as far as loans go and grants go.
We followed up with Kevin Stump 9 months after the storm, now in Fletcher, where a friend stepped in to allow them to begin to rebuild on part of her business.
Unfortunately, during Hurricane Helene, the embankment on the creek over here flooded or caved in, and that caused her not to be able to run that business anymore. And so she was trying to figure out another way to utilize the property, and she thought about me.
Starting from scratch, from seeds to solar-powered trays, the Stumps caught up to the growing season with the dream of reopening their market on a property of their own.
Hopefully we can get our storefront back in Hendersonville where our community's at, and grow our business and our cafe like we've always wanted to do and that we were about to pull the plug on doing.
Today, he urges policymakers to update disaster assistance to include hydroponics, which uses nutrient-rich water solutions instead of soil.
They are working on those programs. I'm not mad or bitter about my situation or not having it yet by any means. But yeah, there's so many small farms, and I feel like it's so critical to our small communities everywhere.
So you've made it through all of this. What's your message for other people watching who are also facing these challenges?
Do not give up, no matter what. If you have a passion for something, no matter what you face, any trial or tribulations, just keep going, keep pushing, because that's ultimately what you want to do.
This week, we're going in focus on Helene 9 months later. Welcome to In Focus, North Carolina. I'm Sarah Redling, joining you from Western North Carolina, where about 9 months ago, Helene ripped through this region and surrounding communities, leaving destruction still visible in its wake. Today, we're going in focus on the struggles these communities are still facing, along with the stories of strength and resilience they've shown in the months following the storm.
9 months later, we wasn't affected much, but you going up the road, and I mean, there's still people living in campers. Homes completely gone, land completely gone. I mean, they won't even be able to build back to where they were at.
Born and raised right outside of Black Mountain, Jerry Brigman never experienced anything like Helene. Their Swannanoa home still standing, but turning the tap was a different story.
It was literally like turning on the faucet and just brown creek water coming out.
Black Mountain's water comes from 2 sources, local wells and one big pipe from Asheville's reservoir, which supplies Swannanoa as well.
We were without water from the 27th of September to right before Thanksgiving. So, the old saying is you don't know what you've got until it's gone. The ability to be able to come just to pour yourself a glass of water or to be able to take a shower with clean water, when you don't have that, you really truly see what you have.
Black Mountain's Public Works Director Jamie Matthews gave us an exclusive tour of the watershed.
We have 10 wells that supply potable water to the citizens of Black Mountain. Actually 40% of the water to the town of Black Mountain. The other 60% we actually purchase from an outside entity because those 10 wells cannot sustain the amount of water needed that we need to supply the citizens because of growth at this time.
The pipeline responsible for that 60% snapped during the storm.
Both of those pipes had washed completely out of the ground, and there is a water distribution line that goes in the middle of this road that was washed out too.
Crews fought flooding, debris, and downed power.
We lost our building that we actually work out of, and we were actually at the emergency management building working out of there. We were sleeping in break rooms, we were sleeping in our vehicles, and we basically worked around the clock until we got this system back going. So without that staff and without the ladies and the guys that work with me, it wouldn't have been possible.
By mid-October, tests cleared Black Mountain's water as safe. But down the road in Swannanoa, families like the Brigmans were without water and power for several months.
For me and my family, we just kind of camped out. We was able to get bottled water brought in, so that's what we'd use to drink, to cook with, even to heat and to take showers with. You know, we had a camp shower set up. You know, it was a lot of work, you know, getting water, heating it, trying to take a shower, keep a wet one clean, not having the power to even keep it cold.
Today, 9 months since the storm, the region has clean water. But the solution is just a temporary fix.
You know, there's a lot of moving parts to this work, and it ain't just, you just run out here and fix this. You know, there's a lot of legal stuff. You know, there's just like in a water system, you got a lot of logistical stuff. You got a lot of testing, and there's a lot of state requirements and state testing that has to take place, you know, and we do that monthly.
Engineers are drawing plans for extra wells and other permanent fixes, potentially costing millions of dollars, leaving town leaders chasing state and federal grants. Until then, temporary pumps and community pride stand guard.
We've had friends that lost their homes, friends we knew lost their lives. So that's my hope, is the community will rebuild and that homes and families can rebuild and heal from this.
Duke researchers are studying the impacts of fungal growth following Helene. An update on their findings and potential health impacts next. Welcome back. This week we're going in focus on Helene, 9 months after the storm. I'm here in the town of Black Mountain, and this is one of the sites that Duke researchers came out to study fungal growth that sprung up after the storm. I recently took a trip to their lab to analyze some of their findings, and here's what they had to say.
Here we have one named Aspergillus sidowii, and this is a coral and human pathogen. And this one here is called Fusarium.
In January, a Duke University team of researchers traveled to Black Mountain in hopes to answer why people were feeling sick after Helene.
We wanted to see, after this 1,000-year flood event, what was affecting our friends and family in their homes.
Dr. Asiya Gusup helped launch the research lab called CLIFF, the climate and fungi team, to investigate, starting with hundreds of samples taken from both cleaned and untouched sites after Helene.
And this was really like a 1,000-year event that Western North Carolina had really never seen before. But we were aware that you often get these fungal blooms after flooding events, like after Hurricane Katrina, Hurricane Rita, Hurricane Harvey, that have happened in the recent past.
Each delicate swab, followed by careful growth in these petri dishes, is now helping the team identify fungi as friend or foe.
These are fungi that were found in the buildings in Black Mountain.
Today, they're working to learn if they could be to blame for any respiratory or health issues that people reported post-Helene.
We're still early on, but we took a lot of samples, and we've gotten now to the point where we're able to identify, or we're growing the different species of fungi that we found and isolating them.
For Asheville native and Duke research technician Vesper Fraunfelter, the mission was deeply personal.
Seeing my home wiped out, and Chimney Rock, for instance, half the city just washed away. And I had spent much of my childhood there. And so it was terrifying and enraging to a degree. I wanted to help, and there was nothing I could really do.
Today, they're helping by identifying the hidden aftermath.
My primary emotion at the remediated facility was concern, because it had only been partially remediated. They had not fully moved back in yet, but they had mostly cleaned it up. And still, we found Mucorales, Fusarium, Trichoderma, Aspergillus, and Rhodotorula, which is an emerging pathogen, usually in catheters, nasty. All from the clean facility.
Masked up and ready to see for ourselves, Black Mountains Project and Facilities Manager Angela Reese took us inside an unremediated site the researchers had sampled.
I believe this is the actual flood mark here. So you can kind of see, if you look throughout, how badly that the mold has taken over.
Hundreds of thousands of dollars in ruined equipment in this building alone. And with it being in a floodplain, demolition now deemed cheaper than remediation.
Shortly after the flood, we all came up and we were going through trying to salvage what we could, records, anything that we could. We were dealing with, we still had no power. They had generators, flashlights. We were coming in here and just trying to see what we had. And at one point, looters showed up.
It was later they realized the dangers of being exposed to the growing problem.
Shortly after, you could hear people getting sick or coughing, headaches. Within hours of being in one of these facilities, you just have pounding headaches.
As Duke's Cliff team continues to research, the university's engineering school wants to turn those Petri dish findings into a proactive plan to help with future flooding. So the samples from the GUSA lab come here to the School of Engineering.
Yes, and so here at the School of Engineering, what we're going to try to do is figure out how these bacteria and fungi are growing on different building materials. So I'm part of what's called the NSF Engineering Research Center for Precision Microbiome Engineering. I know it's a mouthful. Shorthand is PREMIER, and what we do is we try to figure out how we can live with bacteria.
Inside Duke's biofilm reactor, drywall, wood, and pipe samples soak in simulated floodwater.
This is what a flood is going to look like. So let's say somewhere like 4 days or so of flood water is just sitting on that material. See how that grows and see how your changes to this material might encourage or discourage the good ones versus the bad ones.
The goal, to create future buildings that resist mold before storms even strike.
I really hope that, one, we can start answering those questions that the residents were having, right? So those concerns of what was in the air, was it making me sick? How can I help my own health out, right? So that's kind of first and foremost is, can we help the residents with their current pressing questions? And the second thing is really the future, right? So can we design new buildings that are going to be healthier for all of us?
When we come back, lawmakers are joining me here in the western part of our state to talk about what still needs to be done to help people rebuild following Helene. That's next on In Focus. Welcome back. I'm in Swannanoa now, one of the communities hardest hit from Helene. And as you can see, 9 months later, this region is still dealing with so much damage and debris. Now, recovery in Western North Carolina has been a top priority for lawmakers this legislative session. I spoke with 2 lawmakers beginning here in Buncombe County with Representative Lindsay Prather.
But I'm looking forward to talking about hurricane recovery.
Me too. This is so important. A sudden downpour may have stopped our tour of damage in Buncombe County. But 9 months since Helene, the Swannanoa United Methodist Church is still a meeting spot for community members. Representative Lindsay Prather has been part of the recovery since the storm.
You know, folks, those of us that have been here since the storm can see the debris piles get smaller. But they're still there. And so they are daily reminders that this is going to be a really long time getting through this.
Today, Prather's priority is helping small businesses bounce back. She says loans alone won't keep their doors open.
October is the most important month for Western North Carolina. Our economy is built on tourism and small businesses. And so the timing of the storm could not have been worse. And a lot of our businesses still have loans from COVID. A lot of our businesses, you know, we're just kind of getting started out. And so there's a huge concern that they are not going to be able to continue. We've had a bunch of businesses close when the storm first hit, and we're continuing to see a trickle of businesses that are just not able to come back.
Counties also face budget holes for essential services.
The second thing that we badly need is revenue replacement for local governments. So our local governments, they use those sales taxes as revenue to then pay for services. They collect property taxes to pay for services. And so all of that revenue is down. Those collection rates are down. And so every single county and municipality out here in Western North Carolina that was hit by the hurricane is really struggling developing their budget for next year.
Now that we're back in hurricane season, Prather says the urgency is only heightened.
We have to start learning lessons. We can't treat every hurricane season like it's the first time we've been through a hurricane season. North Carolina is a state that has gone through a lot of hurricanes. Yes, in the east, not so much in the west, but there are lessons that we can learn.
As Buncombe County works to bounce back, the need is echoed in neighboring Mitchell County. This is how high the water rose in the community of Spruce Pine. Helene dumped 24 inches on this small mountain community, putting most of the businesses here on Lower Street underwater. I had the opportunity to speak with Senator Ralph Heiss about how his district is rebuilding 9 months since the storm.
When Friday morning hit, we literally lost everything. There wasn't even communication. Even the police Viper radios were down. They couldn't talk to each other. No one could make phone calls. No one could send text. No one had power. It was, I managed on the first day to get to the fire department. And that's the first place you could start interacting and talking with people.
With lines down, volunteers became the town's lifeline.
A lot of people just showing up, volunteering. What can I do to help? How do we find people? And so it was a huge challenge, but I've never been through anything like that before.
Reopening businesses in Spruce Pine has been the town's steepest hill.
There is no assistance for business. So the only thing the federal government offers is loans. And most businesses that you had here in town really aren't in a place that their business model works if they take on more debt and paying. So the state has a prohibition called the emolument clause that we just can't give funds to private individuals or funds without a return to the state. So we've been working very hard with the federal government and others. I know Tillis has a plan that's similar to the Paycheck Protection Act.
Heiss has steered funding towards roads, bridges, and housing.
So right now our appropriation with what was in the Senate budget is about a little more than $2 billion to come. That's mostly for private roads and bridges repairs, housing, those kind of things. Again, that prohibition still hurts us from private businesses. But we've been able to put a lot of funds into the other needs of the community while we're waiting on the feds to take action.
Okay, what are your hopes for that moving forward?
I really hope that the federal government will finally come through. There's a lot of conversations about when they do the bill for the wildfires in California. That's an opportunity. We were able to go up in December and the allocation for North Carolina was somewhere around $15 billion. That's coming mostly in roads and other things. So we're just watching to see what can be the next concept.
Downtowns will return, but he admits they'll look different.
As we rebuild these areas, they won't be identical, but they will still have our heart.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Prather says moving forward, we need to find solutions outside federal funding.
Got to be realistic about the resources that we have. We also have to tap into our state's rainy day fund. It is unacceptable that we are continuing to bring tax cuts down in this state while we're not able to pay for the things that we need to pay for. And so we have to learn that lesson. The other thing I think that we can do a lot better is working on coordination with the other states around us. So here in Western North Carolina, we're closer to like 4 or 5 other state capitals than we are to our own state capital, Raleigh. And so a lot of the help that we received here in the mountains came from Tennessee, came from Georgia, came from places outside of North Carolina.
We're just really hoping, and by midsummer, late summer, that you're seeing a lot more business open and a lot more of this area open to visitors and to local residents to come do their wares. we need that normalcy back in our community.
Our special thanks to everyone who took the time to share their stories with us this week. Our hearts go out to those still impacted by Helene. We promise to continue highlighting these stories on In Focus and Spectrum News 1. But until then, I'm Sarah Redling. We'll be back same time, same place next week here on In Focus with another deep dive on a topic impacting North Carolinians. But until then, take care and have a great week.